You're listening to Talk LFC Podcast, an independent podcast for Reds by Reds. Be sure to hit that follow button.
Good evening and welcome to Talk LFC Podcast. Today is Monday, isn't it? Monday, the 2nd of January 2016. And with me this evening is Sean O'Cleary, as usual.
Yo.
And I wouldn't mind, but it's only 8 o'clock. There's no drinking. Not that I'd be taking drink anyways, but...
No.
We're here this evening, I suppose, to discuss the main talking point of today, and that's the 2-2 draw at the Stadium of Light against Sunderland, the mighty Sunderland. 2 goals, one from Daniel Sturridge and the other from Sadio Mane, and then 2 penalties, both converted by
Defoe.
Jermaine Defoe. I nearly said Willem Defoe.
I know. And I like William Defoe.
Huh?
I like William Defoe.
Well, actually, it's funny, but I actually did say I spelled his name today when I was doing the updates on the page. I spelled his name Dafoe, and his name is De, and of course, immediately jumped on.
Yeah,
absolutely immediately. You know, so yeah, you can always count on the internet for that type of thing. Look, internet is alive at the moment with reviews and people's input on the match. And if I seem distracted here at the moment, I'm just updating our news feed everywhere to say that we're live.
While John's doing that, I'd like to wish all the listeners a happy new year. Obviously, this is our first podcast since our first podcast in 2017. So I don't think anyone famous has died yet, apart from the two Mitchell sisters in EastEnders, if you like that sort of thing. But Jesus Christ, you'd want the Samaritans after watching an episode of EastEnders. I swear to Christ.
No, I don't see the appeal. I really don't.
Neither do I. You
know, but I suppose look at Liverpool continue their unbeaten run. If you want to look at a glass half full, which I like to do. You know, we haven't lost. We dropped points today. You could say drop points, but look at I'm not going to say a weak team because we didn't have a weak team. We had a strong team out, but you could see that we're leggy. And that was leggy, just in case anybody was wondering, because I didn't stumble across that word there.
I think, John, what really went against us is obviously the fixtures haven't been very kind. You know, with the game with City and this game, not much in between, or not much break in between.
Yeah,
I thought that really affected us. Obviously, Henderson. I guess when you start to lose an influential player like that, you tend to find out just how influential he is. And Emre Can just couldn't fit his boots, really.
I was surprised when I seen the stats for Emre Can, though. It was particularly in the first half, because he didn't look to be having a great game. You know, he looked to be late to the ball and everything, but his passing success was up on 87 or 88% for the first half, which is pretty good. You know, even though he looked to be giving the ball away a lot. You know, he was among quite a few poor performances in the first half, if I'm honest. You know,
it wasn't a great game.
Didn't do a lot. No, it wasn't.
It wasn't a great game.
To be honest with you, if you were looking at it from a neutral point of view, it was, though. As a Liverpool fan, it wasn't, because, like, you know, there were chances created at both ends. Both keepers were called on quite regularly. Sunderland, I was surprised at the way they approached the game. I genuinely expected them to sit back and try and soak up the pressure. But in fairness to them, they went for it. You know, they didn't sit on it. They didn't revert to a back five until the last about 10 minutes. They kind of switched to 2 wing backs. They put Javier Manquillo, who you may remember as a Liverpool player, and another former Liverpool player in Fabio Borini.
Bernie had a good
Both,
game, I thought.
yeah, Borini was good. He could have scored early on too. He had a very good chance. Only for there was a couple of blocks, and I thought, I thought Mignolet had a very good game today.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he certainly when William Defoe, am I joking? When Defoe got the first penalty, I think it was in the 26th minute. They came back and Mignolet just got a finger to it and just kept the ball out, and it was
Yeah,
nearly going to another Sunderland player. And I, I mean, when you look at the stats, John, we should have done a whole lot better.
yeah. Just speaking of the stats there, just the stats from the BBC. Um, Possession wise, Sunderland had 29% in comparison to Liverpool's 71%.
Hmm.
Sunderland had 10 shots compared to our 21 shots. They had 5 shots on target compared to our 15. They had 2 corners, we had 5, and we had 10 fouls each. Um, so I think the stats speak for themselves in terms of possession. We did have a lot of possession. We had quite a good bit of possession in the first half as well. We didn't do anything with it. We gave the ball away a lot in the first half, I thought. We were a little bit better in the first half or in the second half in terms of retaining possession, but certainly the first half, I thought we were poor in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's look at the goals first of all. I mean, obviously Sturridge from a set piece, a corner, and Lovren goes to take a shot, and I think it deflected off one of the Sunderland players, and basically then Sturridge gets ahead to it. Uh,
Yeah,
well taken goal in the right place at the right time. Um, Good goal,
a
and you
poacher's
think,
goal, I think, is what you'd call it.
yeah, and that's typical Sturridge, I think.
Yeah,
Although he had a few after that, he had a few shots outside of the box, and you kind of think, well, could he have passed it, or could he have done something more with it if he had have maybe passed it to one of his teammates?
well,
Uh,
he tested the keeper every time today, though. That's another way to look at it. Like the shots were on target.
yeah,
We had quite a few shots that were nowhere near the mark. So he can't be, certainly in the first half, he can't be criticised in that regard.
no,
But one thing that was predominant from today's performance was the fact that Victor Manon, he was basically Sunderland's man of the match today, and probably overall man of the match for the saves he pulled off. Now you could argue that everything that he saved was going straight at him, anyways,
absolutely, that's
which
what I think.
it probably was the case. Now there were one or two that he had to get a hand to, but at the same time, our forward line didn't make him work hard enough. I don't think. It's not too much to ask that you use a bit of imagination when you're shooting and try and get it around the goalkeeper. You know.
What did you
Um,
make of Roberto Firmino's performance today?
I thought he went missing for a large part of the game.
Yeah.
Now look at. I don't want to be negative. I really don't. Like, look at. Let's put this into perspective first of all. Okay, we've had some very tough games in recent weeks. We've played. Excuse me. We've played 3 games in basically in 5 days, 6 days. We had a good win against Stoke 4-1. You'd expect us to win. We had a win against Man City, which, to be honest with you, I would have been happy with a point. Um, a draw would have been a good result there as far as I was concerned. I was delighted with the win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be negative, but if we had have taken a point off City and won against Sunderland, we'd be raving about how good we are. But because we dropped points against Sunderland away and won against Man City, it's the worst thing in the world to happen. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, no, I do. I mean, look, I think people took this this draw very badly. Some more so than others. I think this was a Tompkins or Paul Tom. I can't think of his name. He was a journalist, and I
Yeah,
saw
it's Tompkins Times. Yeah,
Tompkins Times, yeah, and he was like, "Would everyone just cool their jets? Like
yeah.
it's a point." And but to me, that point felt like a loss. If I'm being totally honest with you, I couldn't really find, like, just on that match alone, I couldn't really find much positive out of it.
Positives. The positives you can look at from that, I suppose, are the amount of chances that we created, um, the possession that we had, and the shots that we had on target. Quite a high return in that regard.
Mm,
The negatives, and like, let's be honest, we played two games pretty much with the same team inside of 48 hours, and that's a huge ask.
yeah,
Um, I know we've been lucky up to this stage where we've had 5 and 6 days to compare to prepare for games, but the Christmas period is a busy period. And Klopp put it in a nutshell in his interview, which I have, and I'm going to play in a little while. Um, he said, basically, I'm just going to paraphrase here. I'm not going to, I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically what he said is that when you're forced to play two games inside the space of 48 hours, um, and they don't even bother to show the game in Britain.
yeah.
He said, like,
Disgusted
what's the
with that.
logic behind that?
Yeah, I was absolutely disgusted with that. Like, I mean, people pay good money. If they can't go to a match, they pay good
Yeah,
money for channels. Your sports packages, your BT Sports, your whatever, and it wasn't even on any of those channels, which was kind of disgusting, to be
mm,
honest with you. But then again, I would kind of, going back to the fixtures, I'm fairly pissed with that. I mean, I knew, I thought we had been lucky with the way we've been playing and the points that we've been getting out of the matches. I think today the luck ran out. Um, I think we didn't obviously help ourselves by conceding two second penalties.
mm.
Emery Chan had a could have given a fourth one away, or sorry, a third one away. Um,
But do you think the second one was a penalty?
that was Mane's handball. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What he did was a penalty. He put his hand out for the ball. Now,
yeah,
my opinion, I thought if you have a delivered handball in the box, you're off the pitch. Um, Firstly, that was my thought on it. But Klopp pointed it out. Now, I have watched it back, and unfortunately, the replays that I watched didn't show the replay of the free kick. But Klopp claimed that it should never have been a free kick in the first place.
yeah. I disagreed
Um,
with the free kick. I had said that I thought the free kick was very harsh,
yeah,
very
it
very
was. It was.
harsh. I don't
I know.
believe.
I'm given that benefit. I'm given that reaction based on what I saw live. I didn't see a replay of it, as I said. So, um, it's like, basically, if there was no free kick, there was no penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe Sunderland may have been kind of, wouldn't have been too happy if it had been 2-1, because they may have thought that they should have got a penalty there earlier on in the game, with Chan.
Mm.
So maybe it evened itself out. Maybe a draw was what Sunderland deserved, um, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, people can look at it and say, well, it was very harsh that we deserved to win. I don't know. I mean, I just felt. I mean, look, Sunderland are in 18th place, minus
Mm.
18 goals difference, 15 points. We're trying to be title contenders. We've now slipped up, and Chelsea are in the driving seat, big time.
They
There's,
have a tough game tomorrow. Now, in fairness,
they,
and look at
or yeah,
this is. I know we dropped points today. There's no getting away from that fact. But it's damage limitation, and if Spurs beat Chelsea tomorrow, it's not. It's it's the best possible scenario for us this weekend. But just touching on what you said there about dropping points, if you go back to, we say, within the last 30 days, we've dropped points in games that we should have won. We lost 4-3 away to Bournemouth. We drew 2-2 with West Ham at home. Um, there's 5 points dropped, and another 2 points dropped again today is 7 points. That's 7 points. If we had picked up those points, we'd be a point ahead of Chelsea now. Today.
Yeah,
Before they play. They are, and look at. I'm not trying to draw comparisons to seasons of old. I'm not trying to get an e-jerk or anything like that, but it's not unlike Liverpool to drop silly points like that and then go out and put in performances like we did against Man City. Who we get a win and a good win at that.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Look, I mean, obviously, we have a tendency of dropping points to teams that we are expected to beat. I don't think that you should ever go into a game expecting to beat any team because the time that you show no respect to your opponent, they punish you for it.
Yeah.
What happened today, I think, was down to I suppose the fixtures not helping us much. Down to obviously Henderson out, and also down to the fact that there was a few players that really were not at the races at all today.
Yeah. There's some comments from our listeners here. Martin Mason. How are you, Martin? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New
He said it's totally fucking useless twats today, for fuck's sake. I'm so angry. Big teams, we win small. Big teams we win, small teams we get fucked over. It's kind of the point we're making there, but he did go on to say that Barini was very good today, and I suppose that's a comment based on the comment that you made a short while ago. Darren Lynch is also commented, and Happy New Year to you too, Darren.
Good man, Darren.
He said failure to buy a left back is coming back to haunt his FSG out. And then he wants to know if there's any news on a takeover.
Should I take that bit?
I look at it's January. We're only halfway through the season. As I said, I'm looking at this as a glass half full type scenario. Yes, we do need a left back. Milner today. What did you think of Milner?
I like Milner. I think did he get a yellow card and that's why he took him off, or was there a problem with his fitness or something?
He did, yeah. He got a yellow card, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess once we got rid of Milner, obviously we were then left with our second choice left back, and I think that really. I'm not going to put all the blame on Moreno because it's not fair to do that on the kid. But, I think we were missing Milner's presence, if I can put it to you that way. I think Milner is a far better player. I'm stating the obvious here. I'm doing a Michael Owen on it, but I believe that Milner is a bigger presence at the on the team than Moreno. Obviously, he was the captain. Gave the captain's armband to Lovren, and I don't think even Lovren had that authority, to kind of get us to get our act together when we needed to, and we certainly did need to. I think when you're forced to make a decision and put on a substitution at half time like that, it can either make or break a game. And I think it didn't help. It didn't help having feckin' Moreno taken over set pieces.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is it didn't help, but it didn't hamper us. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no.
I don't blame Moreno for today. Look, there's two ways to look at it in terms of Milner. I don't know whether he was taken off because of the yellow card or because he was extremely lethargic in the first half. he didn't do a whole lot. But basically, bringing on Moreno and the fact that Firmino wasn't really much impact up front either meant our entire left side, we had no threat.
Mm.
Um, we were a threat on down the right wing with Klein.
With Klein,
Um,
exactly.
and I thought he was quite good, even though early on he should have scored again. He had a, a perfect opportunity to put the ball away today, and he fluffed his lines again. He completely mishit the ball.
And
I
even
think he took an
Sadio
air
Mane
shot
had
actually.
even Sadio Mane had a fairly good opportunity. I think it was either Mane or was it Sturridge that had a good opportunity. I think it was from
Yeah, and
a Klein cross into the box.
yeah, yeah. Wijnaldum as well today. He looked like he had his shooting boots on. He pulled a good save out of Manone as well. But look at overall today, we were slow. Um, we looked drained. We looked tired. As I said, Firmino wasn't at the races at all. Emre Can was a bit sluggish too. I thought when I seen his pass success rate, I was kind of a bit surprised because he certainly didn't look that good on the pitch. Um, I was thinking, are you sure they're not from the previous match that he played in? But you could see we missed, as you said already, we missed Henderson today. We had nobody to control the midfield. Uh, Wijnaldum was doing his best. What I thought with Emre Can, and I noticed him doing it today, while he might have had a lot of successful passes, a lot of his passes were short and backward. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it kind of shows in the stats when you look at 71%. It's all well and good having 71% of the possession, but if you're passing it backwards and you're
Yeah.
looking at his stats with his passing accuracy, if it's short and backwards, well, Jesus, you can do that all fucking day long, and I'm sure the Moneyball technical performance team out there will look at stats like that and think, Jesus, this is a great player. But I mean,
Mm.
you can pass back and do all of that shite all you like, but it's all about positive passing. If you're passing it backwards, it's not going to really do anything.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I mean, we certainly missed that kind of. I think Henderson's got a good football brain. I don't know whether he kind of got some of that the odd time that he was playing with Gerrard. But I mean, he seems to kind of read the game very well and be able to kind of put in nice little passes
Yeah.
and get people onto the end of them. We didn't see that today because we didn't have him.
No.
And I was a bit disappointed because I'm a fan of Emery Chan, but he just was not at the races.
No, I agree. And look, I don't know whether it's the fact that he's coming back from injury. He's just not up to full pace yet. Um, you know, but then again, look at he has had some really really good performances for Liverpool. So I'm not going to slate him over one performance. Um,
Well, it's very easy to do that. It's very easy to kind of forget, the player that he is on just one game. A lot of fans tend to do that. I mean, now Minole is our number one goalkeeper because Karius had a few bad games and then was fairly vocal about the criticism that he got. Now all of a
mm,
sudden, Minole is our answer. I think people are tending now to kind of go on this rampage and start attacking Emre Can, which I think is a bit silly.
no,
He
but
had a
look at
piss
you.
poor game.
You know yourself. The internet goes fucking crazy. The knee jerkers come out, and it is a case today. Case in point, you look at certainly our Twitter feed today is just full of negative comments. With the few people chirping in and saying, "Listen, voices of reason" and what have you. Um, but I think the recurring theme today was, and it's amazing how many times I wrote this today during the match.
Mm.
I'll give you one example. On 17 minutes, Sturridge forces Manone into a save to his right with a fine effort from outside the box, and that was a recurring theme today. Sturridge was trying. He was hitting shots from distance, and they were as I said already, they were going on target. But Manone had a great game today.
He did. I just felt in the second half, like, I mean, we when we were looking at the when I was looking at the game in the second half, I just felt he wasn't challenged enough. He obviously he was busy. He took the saves, but he wasn't. It wasn't exactly like he had to do a bloody scorpion kick from the line or any of that
Mm,
shite. I mean,
mm,
I could have saved it, some of those shots. I mean, Roberto Firmino had a few weak shots there. I mean, Roberto Firmino absolutely was shocking today. Absolutely shocking. I didn't
yeah,
think
he
he was
was.
at the races at all. Um, I think, while I feel that, that a lot of people are kind of have a knee jerk reaction and whatever, I do think it's still important for the fans, and the team to have expectations and high expectations,
Mm,
rather than, kind of settle for, well, if we get fourth or if we win the League Cup, I'd be happy. That kind of bullshit,
yeah,
which seems to be, has been the case for the last maybe 6 years or so. It's good to see the fans saying, well, no, that wasn't good enough, and that's it. But I think we need to dust ourselves off, learn from it, and then get on with the fucking, the next game.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
no point in beating ourselves up over it. No point in, beating ourselves, over what's been and done. You can't undo it.
And
As
let's
much
be
as
honest with
you
ourselves. We're in second place after 20 games with 44 points. That's a serious return. You know,
yeah,
partic-
absolutely. I still think, we need to. I don't know. Without sounding too much like another podcast, but I think we certainly need to do business to kind of strengthen the team, because, when you're looking at the, okay, I mean, when you look at the, um, Milner coming off, and the effect that had on us, because I do think it had an effect on us, because we weren't creative at all on the left hand side, where
yeah.
we are.
Well, it had an effect on us when he was on the pitch too. And look at, as I said already, I'm not being critical of Milner. He
No.
was tired. He was tired. And Klopp said in his interview that he said it to the team over the last couple of days after the City game. He said to them, if any feel you're not able to play against Sunderland, he said, come to my office in complete confidence and tell me you're not able to play, and I won't put you in the team. And he said nobody came to him. So as far as he was concerned, everybody was fit to play. So he put out what he thought was his best team. The only change he made was the fact that Jordan Henderson um, wasn't available to him. So it meant Sturridge was on. But look, let's be honest. It was a very, very tired performance.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, if you're a professional footballer and you're on the amount of money that you're on, um, and again, if you love the club, which, an awful lot of football players don't, play for the club, as for loyalty, it's for money. Going back to what your man, Chris out of um, Redmen TV said, it's the fans that make you love the club. But going
Mm,
back to my point, I'm drifting a little bit. If the players, you'd expect the players to say, no, I want to play, because
mm.
that's what you're paid to do. You're not going to see the likes of Milner saying, no, I'm not playing, I'm too tired, because that's not the character he is. He'll play in whatever position you want him to play in, because he has a desire to play football. So you won't get the likes of Milner doing that. Um, I mean, obviously, it was a very, very tired performance. Did maybe when the Did the players believe that they could play better, or did the players believe that coming into the match that they weren't tired? I don't know, but that's something that each and every player needs to look at, when they're reviewing the game and look at themselves in the mirror to see what they could have done to improve things for the team, and then dust
Well,
themselves off, get on with the next game.
to be honest with you, if you look at today's game overall, okay, yes, we were tired. You could see that we didn't have the same intensity, um, and it was pretty apparent early on that we didn't have the same intensity, the same level of energy level that we normally have. You know, the high press, the high intensity, that wasn't there. Um, but also, you have to give Sunderland credit. Sunderland didn't sit back. Sunderland came at us. You know, um, and normally teams that play 4-4-2 against us, we generally tend to put them to the sword, but it didn't work today. And I think that's the reason why it didn't work, is because we didn't have our usual high intensity game, and it cost us.
Yeah, well, I mean, this goes back to what I'm saying, John. Like, I mean, with regards to showing respect to your opposition. I mean, Sunderland are in a relegation battle at the moment. Obviously, their main objective is to stay up. They can't afford to drop points. Where if we drop points, okay, we might be out of the race for the title. But you know, if they drop points, they're further stuck to the floor of the table, which
Yeah.
obviously they don't want to. So it like every game that they play, they have to play out of their socks.
Mm.
And
But
that's
they're
what
third from bottom at the moment.
they're third from
Um,
bottom. Yeah.
yeah, and just looking back at some of the games they played there recently, they lost 4-1 away to Burnley. They lost 3-1 away to Manchester United. They won 1-0 against Watford, a team they should be beating. They lost 1-0 to Chelsea. Swansea beat them 3-0.
Yeah.
You know, and we beat them 2-0 back in November. You know, on any other day, I'd be saying we beat Sunderland relatively easily. But today was definitely the exception to the rule. Um, I think I'm in agreement with what Klopp said. I had a feeling that this game, particularly this game today, was going to come up and bite us in the ass.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that we only had 45 hours, is it, between the two games?
Yeah.
With less than 45 hours, I think. 5:15 the other day and 3 o'clock today. So yeah, it's crazy to ask any team um, to play on that quick of a turnaround. You're risking injuries as well. But the other side of it too is really play the devil's advocate here and say we should have a squad capable of playing games in quick succession like that. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean that's I suppose something that I wanted to bring up. Darren Lynch made a comment there. I mean, obviously it's important in my opinion that we do business in January. And when I mean business, I don't mean getting rid of players. I mean, you know, bringing in players that will hit the ground running, and make it easier. I mean, all teams are going to suffer from injuries. All teams are going to suffer from tiredness and fatigue and whatever. Some more so than others. When you have like a squad of players that can come off the pitch, or say come off the bench, should I say, and hit the ground running and put in a good performance, where you're not missing the likes of Milner, you're not missing the likes of Coutinho, you're not missing the likes of Firmino when he decides to disappear for most of the game. Um, when you can bring a player that's equally good, or if not better, um, then I mean that separates the men from the boys, and that is the difference between winning silverware and not.
Hmm.
So I think it's extremely important not to dismiss January, and not to you know, obviously January is a very, very difficult transfer window. No one's disputing that, but it needs to be looked at as an opportunity to refuel.
Hmm. If we weren't in a title-winning potential situation at the moment, I'd be saying, get the players in for next year. But I think it's obvious at this stage that we have the best chance we've had to win the league on a par with 2014. Um, I think it's important that we bring in players capable of strengthening the squad, and you know, it's proven. Like, right, fair enough. We lost Coutinho, and it was all doom and gloom. We lost Coutinho. We've actually done well since he's been out of the side. We have lost games that we should have won, as we mentioned earlier on, but we haven't done badly. You know, um, the signs are good for when he comes back. No, I don't think he'll be back this weekend either. Um, I'd say it'd be more likely he'll be back for the game against
Yeah.
Southampton. But in saying that, I still think we need, like, we're going to be missing Sadio Mane now from the African Cup of Nations, and some of the games that he's going to miss. You know, some pretty big games. Um, I think his last game is going to be the game against Plymouth Argyle. I'm not sure if he's going to miss the game against Southampton or not in the EFL Cup. That's on the 11th. I know he's the what you call it starts on the 15th. So he's going to miss the Man United game. He's going to miss the Swansea game. He's going to miss the Southampton um, home leg, the second leg of the EFL Cup semi final, and he's going to miss the Chelsea game as well,
Yeah.
and possibly the Hull City game. So we do need player like Mane is a huge influence on the team. He didn't have the best game today, but he was still there and he was still influencing the play. He scored. Um, you know, we can't afford to not have players like him in the side.
Well, it goes back to my point that we need to do business in January transfer window to cater for that. I mean, if you have someone that plays in the Africa Cup of Nations, that's not going to that's going to obviously Mane is a fantastic player, and his impact in the team is huge when he's playing very well. But if he's going to the Africa Cup of Nations, we need to bring a player in that can do the job.
Do you do you not feel we have adequate cover, or do you feel we have adequate cover in the academy? Do you think? Do you think if we the likes of we say Ojo, who can come in and do a job there, even at a push, maybe Alexander Arnold?
I think it's when you're you see it goes back to the whole thing. Well, you can't win the title with kids, and we saw that person eating the words when United did win with kids.
Yeah,
The like I don't want to be completely dependent on them. It'd be great for them to come in and prove their worth and um, be more than what we expected. But I think to be utterly dependent on them is a very dangerous game. Because they're young players.
hmm.
These players may not be able for that level of intensity and important games like that. And that's not taking, or that's not being insulting to them. It's just saying that they may not be ready.
Now, bit of breaking news there. I'm just looking at. Sorry, if I seem a little bit distracted, but Burnley have
Yeah,
just re-signed Joey Barton till the end of the season.
there you go. See, Burnley are doing some stuff. Fair play to them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's facing a ban. He could be given a lifetime ban after being charged by the FA for misconduct after allegedly placing 1,260 bets over a 10-year period.
Listen, I
Strange.
can't I can't keep up with Joey Barton. I really can't. I cannot keep up with him. That guy is more vocal on Twitter than he is on the pitch.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think I think he's hilarious. I mean, I remember him when he was at Leon, I think it was, and he put on the French accent,
Yes.
and I was like, what is this about?
Yeah, he is. He's a bit of a
Um,
nut job, all right.
like I just, yeah. I mean, look, the guy hasn't accomplished much, and he's certainly the most vocal of people out there. Look, Burnley can sign whoever the fuck they like. I couldn't care less. You know, a bit of a silly move because he's a head case.
He is, absolutely. Now, I'm just looking at some of the stats from today, just particularly in Victor Manone. Quite a busy afternoon. He said, according to BBC, he made 13 saves. He made saves from Daniel Sturridge, Roberto Firmino, Ragnar Klavan, Emre Can, Adam Lallana, and Jorginho Wijnaldum. So he, it says a lot about a game when your goalkeeper is your man of the match. And in actual fact, Mignolet could have been man of the match today too.
Well, you see, the thing is, it certainly was a match where the goalkeepers were tested. But then again, does it? I mean, you could also look at that and say, well, the chances or the shots that they had to deal with wasn't as threatening as they should have been.
Well, certainly not from Manone's point of view. He, a lot of the shots that he had to deal with were from outside the area. Were long shots. But in fairness, I thought Mignolet did quite well in a lot of cases. Like, he was unlucky to not to save the penalty, first of all, the first penalty.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was surprised when I seen, when the angle they showed the penalty from, it genuinely looked like he could have gotten a hand to it, and I thought he did. And I was kind of saying to myself when I saw it, I thought, how the fuck did you not save that? But when you see it back, that ball was curling into the left side of the net. Do you know what I mean? That he was never going to get to that ball. It was hit low and it was hit into the side netting. It's always going to be a hard one to save. The second one, I suppose, he went the wrong way for it. And in actual fact, Defoe did send him the wrong way, because if you look at him, and I think even the commentator picked up on it, the match that I was watching, he said he gave him the eyes for going down the right hand side, and even the shape of his body looked like he was going to head down the right.
Yeah.
When in actual fact, he put the ball to his left again, into the same side that he put it in the first penalty. But in saying that, look at a penalty. I never blame a goalkeeper for not saving a penalty unless he's there and right beside it and misses it completely. It's fucking 50-50 with a goalkeeper. To lose a game to 2 penalties, and actually there was a stat today, and I'll see if I can find it again. I probably won't be able to find it. I had it on our Facebook page. We haven't lost 2 penalties. I'll see if I can find it again on our Facebook page. Let's see. Sunderland are the first team to score 2 penalties in a Premier League game against Liverpool since West Brom in April 2011. We've been lucky this year with penalties, in fairness. We haven't given away too many.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess we have to look at today as we were very lucky not to give away more than we had 2 penalties. We had another penalty appeal where we're very lucky not to get a penalty. So I don't know.
Do you think we had clear shouts at the other end for a penalty as well, which I think were genuine penalties?
Sorry,
we had a claim ourselves for a penalty at the other end, similar to the Mane one. I can't remember your guy's name now, Billabong or something like that. I can't remember. But he clearly handled the ball as well, and the penalty wasn't given. But yet the referee, Anthony Taylor, I think was his name. A lot of people saying that he should have got man of the match for his 2 assists for the Sunderland goals.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if Sunderland hadn't, come out of that with 1 point, I guarantee you that Moyes would have said, well, we would have, we deserved at least a draw, because we should have got a penalty there. Look, I mean, the thing that I tend not to do is look too much into the referee's performance. If you come into a match hoping for the referee to get it right all the time, well then you know, it's a very, very bad idea to do that. I think you make your own luck and your own fate by playing out of your socks for the 90 minutes. And the difference today was we didn't have that energy. We were fatigued. Um, we were exhausted, and we didn't have that. We just didn't have the energy, and that's, then obviously when you don't have the energy and you don't put in a good performance, you're obviously then going to look at the referees' decisions and say, well, that went against us, that went for us, that went against us, that went for them, that kind of thing. You're obviously going to talk about that.
Well, at the end of the day, I suppose, we're responsible for our own performances and nobody else. That's the way to look at it. I suppose, I have Jurgen Klopp's post-match interview here. I suppose we can play that and listen to what he thought of the whole situation. So here's the audio of Klopp's interview.
And how do you describe that 90 minutes?
Oh, very difficult. I have no real idea. Because... Okay, I know we can play better football. I'm not sure that we could have played better today because we played 2 days ago. But you all want to see these games, obviously, even when you don't show it to your own people in the country. And so I'm not sure. I'm a little bit between end. For sure, I saw it a second ago. There was no foul before the second free kick and then penalty. It was no foul. That's very difficult today because I usually speak about footballer, but I have no idea what my players would have capable of or what not. So that's it.
You think it wasn't a free kick, but do you think
it was no free kick?
It was no free. Okay, but do you think it was a penalty, the handball?
That's not logical. When it's not a free kick, how can it be yes, the ball was on his arm, right?
So do you think over the piece your team deserved the 3 points, or?
I don't know. I said. I'm sorry for maybe it's not a nice thing in your life, but I have no idea what to say. Because usually I say, okay, we should have done that better, But on the other hand side, I'm proud because they run like devils. They tried everything. They fight it like I would expect it. But then I say, okay, but this could have been better, that could have been better. We should not concede, but it's a throw in. And then, I don't know, Ndong jumps in a box. I saw him. It's a penalty. The referee decided it's a penalty. And then they scored this goal. They did well in counter-attack, but it's for all teams difficult. Now you can say, yeah, difficult. But for me, it's first time, so I have to think about how can I understand a game like this. And in this moment, I don't know.
In terms of the race for the title, I know you said it's still a long way away and nothing will be decided till later. But could that be crucial points dropped like that?
No, could not. Because you think about because of the other have to play a lot of games to go. So how I said, it's not nice. And maybe we should stop. I know it's your job to do it, but hopefully it will be paid if we don't make it 10 minutes. Because I have no answers today. Not because of the result. It's because of... I knew before. I will not be sure what I have to say afterwards, because these 2 games in 2 days, that's very difficult. But we did well for this, probably, I think.
So I think the recurrent theme there, as we touched on already, is how can it be a penalty if it's not a free kick? And I think Klopp was quite annoyed there, you can tell. He sounded like a man that was getting frustrated with the line of questioning.
I think the comments he made were fair enough, John. I don't think you could be more honest if you tried. I think he was straight up with the questions. He answered them as honest as he could. I firmly agree with his comment about Chan conceding the free kick. I don't think it was a free kick. And I think anyone with 2020 vision would have saw that and said, well, no, that wasn't a free kick. That was very harsh.
I think even the first penalty claim was a bit harsh, because I did see the replay. I looked back on it. As I said, it's very hard to watch a match because I was updating the Facebook page as well, so it's very hard to keep up on the blow by blow action. But I did watch the replay, the highlights back, and the penalty, the Clavan penalty, I think that was very, very harsh because basically um, the player ran at Clavan. Clavan had nowhere to go. So he fucking stood his ground. He didn't put his feet out. He didn't put his arms out to take him down or anything. The guy ran into him. And if you watch the replay, by the time he ran into Clavan, his 2 feet, he was already on his way down. His 2 feet were off the ground. So he played for a penalty. And that's why I would agree with a lot of what was said today in terms of the referee. He was very poor. You know.
Well, I mean, I think the referee, the refereeing today in the Premier League has been poor. I mean, obviously there was controversy there at the United game. I didn't see, what the incident was there that had question marks over the refereeing there, but Clavan, I mean, there was from what I could see, there was contact made, and if there's contact made. I take on board what you're saying, John. Where he had to stand his ground. Where was he going to go? He had nowhere to go. And on that basis, yes, you're correct. He didn't. But it's a penalty all day long if there's contact made, and obviously the player made more of it than needed to be, and we can question that all day long. I firmly believe it was a penalty. I firmly believe that the penalty appeal that they had with Chan was a penalty. And then obviously we look at the Mane situation. It was a stupid free kick. It should never have been a free kick. And again, Twitter is ablaze with people giving out about Emery Chan. That was not a free kick. And you can't blame Chan for that. But certainly it was a penalty because of what Sadio Mane did. And it's an awful pity because, Sadio Mane is a fantastic player, a huge fan of him, but he was silly to have made that blunder.
I suppose, we could go around in circles here and discuss the same things over and over again. The simple fact is the results, it's in the fucking results book now, it's in the record book, and there's not a lot we can do about it. We can pick the game apart, and we can pick the bad points and the good points from it, but we certainly can't change the result.
No, and I think we need to just dust ourselves off and get on with it. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things disappointing in it. There was obviously the, Sturridge as well, coming off injured. I don't know about you or any of our listeners tonight whether they thought that there was minimum contact made with Sturridge.
I look back at the replay, just I suppose a couple of points on that. Sturridge was coming off anyways, so at that point I think Klopp thought the game is pretty much, let's try and protect what we have. So
yeah,
Lucas was coming on for Sturridge one way or the other, and I think if you look at what happened, he doesn't stand on him. Initially when I saw it first, I thought he stood on it, but it's a case of where he gets a kick right into the side of the foot, and quite a substantial kick. And those football boots, they're very, very thin. There's no protection in them whatsoever. So, I'd say it's the type of injury he would have shrugged off in a couple of minutes. That I certainly hope so. Like, he was hobbling a little bit when he got up on it, but he was able to walk on it and everything. So I wouldn't have been overly concerned. But in saying that, there certainly doesn't seem to be any concern as to whether he's going to be out for any length of time.
I always get worried. Like my patience is kind of running thin. It bit like my hairline. With Sturridge, I suppose, because of when we need him the most. I mean, obviously, with Sadio Mane going to the African Cup of Nations, we need Sturridge. And I just feel if this fella is going to I just thought, God Almighty, is he gone down? Is he injured? Oh Christ, he's injured. And I thought, fuck, we're screwed. But look, I just hope to Christ he's all right. It was a shit game, John, and to be honest with you, after watching it, it felt more like a loss because there was a lot riding on it. But we can harp on about it till the cows come home. We just need to dust ourselves off, and fans need to get behind the team rather than slating the shit out of them on Twitter. Twitter is just a social media for fucking absolute gobshites. And so is Facebook, let's be honest. As we both know, that poor fella in Tunisia is still looking for a 7.5 million for his Clio.
Yeah, there's some special characters on the internet for sure.
Oh, Jesus.
David Moyes now said today as well in his interview that, if he had been German, he would have had great applause for what he did today, which I think is quite bitter. Do you know what I mean? The man, he's I just don't like him. I think he's an extremely, extremely negative, boring, grey manager.
Well, he has that kind of body language on the sidelines, similar to Hodgson's. It's very negative. I thought he got a raw deal with United.
I wanted him to stay at United till the end of time. I thought he was doing a great job.
So do I. But now United fans are, oh yes, we won against picking West Ham, and they're all thinking that the title is on now for them.
Yeah.
But
it took them long enough. In fairness,
took them long enough. Yeah. But
and West Ham had a man sent off, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, and that was what the controversy was over. I think with the refereeing. I see John Arne Riise is calling for that referee to be dropped.
I saw that earlier, yeah.
Which is quite funny. But listen, David Moyes can have a dig all he likes at Klopp. David Moyes will never accomplish what Jurgen Klopp has accomplished as manager.
No, that's true. That's true.
Will never have the accolade that Jurgen Klopp has had. When he was he manager of a Spanish club? He was, wasn't he? Valencia or something?
Was it Espanyol? He did manage. He managed. Yeah, he did. He managed.
He did. Yeah, and
I forget now.
Even looking at his interviews, where he tries to fucking speak a bit of Spanish. Oh Jesus Christ! I mean, he's an absolute shocking man. And he lacks charisma. He has no charisma whatsoever. So I don't really give two halfpenny fucks what David Moyes says. Mank bastard, Evertonian.
So really, you don't have an opinion on it? Is that what you're saying?
I have a very large opinion on it. I don't give two halfpenny shites what he says about our Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp, I don't think is going to lose too much sleep over what David Moyes says.
No.
That makes absolutely no sense. David Moyes, and I'll say this to you, and on behalf of Talk LFC, if you are parading around and going on like you're happy with a 2-2 draw, and you're third from bottom, well then, and you want to be, highlighted in the same regard as Jurgen Klopp, well then you got issues, son. You got issues.
That's for
sure. Jurgen Klopp is getting the right amount of praise for what he does, and there's no bullshit. There's no shite talk about he's the special one, or he's the chosen one, or he's the moany one, or he's the unemployed one. We've seen this shit with United when Moyes came in, he was the chosen one. And then fucking Van Gaal, that hideous looking thing, when he came in, he was the special one or the chosen one. And they're all taking the piss out of Mourinho when he got the sack. He was the unemployed one. But
Yeah.
now Mourinho is back, or he's now the United manager, and now all of a sudden he's the special one now to United. So I really don't give two halfpenny fecks about what Dave Moyes says. David, go and manage a team, actually win something with them, and then come back to me when you have achieved a quarter of what Jurgen Klopp has in his managerial career. Otherwise, sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, and sort out your teeth.
I suppose the last thing to talk about is the injury time. There was 5 minutes of injury time. The board went up just as Gilabaji, I think is his name. I'm trying to work it out
Yeah.
here, but we call him Billabong. He went down with a fairly substantial. He got into he had a clash of heads with. I think it was a Chan, was it? There was a clash of heads.
I think it was Sadio Mane, was it not?
Jeez, I forget now. But anyways, he went down and he was down on the ground for a good 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, it looked fairly bad, all right.
You know, he was down. I think it was 88th minute when the board, or the 89th minute when the board went up, and he was still down. So, you know, really, I suppose there should have been maybe another 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes of injury time added on to the 5 minutes.
Well, I would also question him coming back on as well, John, because if like, first of all, head injuries are extremely serious extremely serious in rugby or in any sport, and you have an obligation to your player. And this goes back to Mourinho giving out shite to that lovely specimen of a woman, Eva.
Carneiro, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I'd have a groin strain all day long with that girl, I swear to God. I love her. Eva, give her a holler there.
Eva Carneiro, is it? Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I'd make her Eva O'Cleary, I'll tell you that for nothing.
But the thing about it is, too, look at, yes, they have an obligation to their players, but at the same time, if the player said he's okay to continue, then, you know, you have to take him at his word. Now, it was pretty obvious.
He wasn't okay.
No. He wasn't, and even the commentator in the dodgy stream that I watched it on picked up on it and said that somebody needs to tell this guy that he's currently drawing 2-2 with Liverpool at the Stadium of Light, because the camera focused on him a couple of times and he was shaking his head and hitting his head and, like, Jesus, you know, that's not good.
No,
apologies, I stood on my Pepsi bottle there if you were wondering what that crackling noise was.
That's okay. No, I saw him after that, and I mean, he still wasn't the Mae West. I think he was still suffering big time from it, and that could lead to serious implications if it had been really, really bad. I do think he should have been taken off, and there should have been extra time added on. Now, that's not to say we would have got a fucking winner. We're not Man United, but I just think for the players' welfare, they should have taken them off.
Yeah.
Whatever about adding to the additional time. I don't know.
What did you make of Origi today?
Oh, I love Origi.
He came on to replace Wijnaldum on 72 minutes. He's got some pace, I'll tell you.
I love Origi. I mean, myself and Lee Price, when there was talks of us getting Origi and then him being loaned out back to his club, and we were awaiting this fantastic player to come into the summer. I didn't make much of him. I thought, Jesus, this is another panic buy or another stupid buy or whatever. This guy is going to be sold within a couple of seasons or the next season or whatever. And I'm eating my words completely. And any time I see him play, I'm eating my words completely, and I'm always apologising for.
Yeah, he's definitely come good. I do tend to agree with you. Very early on, he was very slight and was pushed off the ball very easily. But it's like he's grown up. Do you know what I mean? He's really bulked up. He's a lot stronger. He's a lot more physical than he used to be, and he took off down the wing today after a ball. Sunderland were threatening us at one point. They were right in on the box, and Bertie Moreno made a kind of a half-fisted clearance down with the ball ended up in their half. But Origi took off after it, and he looked like he had the hope and hell of getting to the ball before the defender. But by the time the defender got to it, Origi was on his arse. He has serious pace. He's as quick as Mane.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's a fantastic player, and I'd like to see more of him. I'm wondering, is he? Do you think he's ready to be in the first 11? I'm looking at, I suppose, who we have up front, and we seem to be going with Firmino quite a lot, and Firmino isn't, a natural number 9, as we well know. He's not exactly banging in the goals either, and he tends to kind of not be at the races for most of the game, and then sometimes he pops up and then scores a goal, and that's great. That's fantastic. But I think Origi, he's a young player. He's got great pace about him, and he knows where the bloody net is.
Yeah. I think actually, just in relation to what you said there about Firmino, I think he's isolated on the left wing. I think he's definitely more suited to the false 9 role, but I think Origi can help him in that regard because Origi can play on the left. He scored quite a few good goals from the left as well, from impossible angles. So, if it was me, I don't pick the team. I know we're all armchair managers and what have you, but I think in that regard, you're looking at a front three of Origi, Firmino, and Mane. I'd have Mane on the right and Origi on the left, with Firmino with Firmino as the false 9. But yeah, I suppose there's not really much more we can say about today's game. I suppose we picked the bones out of it.
We move on.
We move on, exactly. The one thing I will say though is, the reactions that today's game is getting, I think, are a lot of knee-jerk reactions. We didn't lose. That's one way to look at it. Yeah, we dropped points, but we're in a very, very good position at the moment. And, if Spurs happen to beat Chelsea tomorrow, and there's every possibility they will, it hasn't been the worst weekend for us. We gained a point on Chelsea.
Yeah, I think Chelsea are certainly on fire, so it'd be very unlikely. But I mean, who knows? I mean, they have a tough game. I think it's what day is today? Monday. I think it's Wednesday. I think they're playing. I think.
Wednesday. Sorry, I said tomorrow. I'm astray with the days.
You're okay. I'm all over the place. I've had insomnia since the Christmas break, so I've been up at all hours, and I haven't a clue what day, time, or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm just worried, obviously, about the injuries. I mean, I'm just looking here. There's a thing on sportsreview.com where there's talk about Milner, that he felt that he had a knock on the calf, and hence why they needed to be careful and they need to make the change. But look, if we can get out of this and with as little or no injuries as possible and dust ourselves off and then fucking destroy the opposition that's left for the rest of the season, I don't fucking mind. But let's just
I think it. Look at it. Let's be honest. I don't think we're going to see our first team out against Plymouth on Saturday or Sunday. Sorry. So I think the next game we'll be looking at having our full strength team out will be probably the game against Southampton on the 11th. So, I don't think any injuries that we have at the moment, I'd say all should be fit and well for the next time they're called upon. Certainly, Henderson was I don't think he's going to make it back for the next game anyway, but it's not a bad injury. It's fluid from what I could tell. It's fluid on the heel. So it's not the same injury that he had that kept him out for a long time. If it is a knock, Milner tends to bounce back fairly quick from injury. So, knocks, he can get over them in a week or so, But I think the positive to come from the next couple of weeks is the fact that Coutinho should return And I'd say he could even feature against Plymouth.
I
It
think
mightn't be
he might start on the bench. I think though. I don't think he's going to get the full 90 minutes on that.
Mm, mm. Still, it'd be nice to see him back. And that game is on BT Sport this coming Sunday at 1:30 p.m. British
That's on.
Standard Time.
When is that?
Sunday, next Sunday,
All right.
Sunday the 8th.
I should be over me hangover at that stage, hopefully. Anyway.
By 1:30, I should. Yeah, I'm golfing on Sunday morning, but I'll be home by that point. And then, of course, our next two games are cup games. Actually, the first one is the Plymouth Argyle game in the FA Cup. That's a home game, and then we play away to Southampton in the first leg of the EFL Cup semi-final on Wednesday the 11th. That game was on Sky Sports at 8:15. So that's, I suppose, pretty much it. There's not really much more we can say about that game this evening, only that it was a bit disappointing and frustrating.
That's it.
So,
and David Moyes, shut your mouth.
Exactly.
You little shite hawk, you.
Yeah, so look, I suppose all that's left is to wish all our listeners a happy new year. And of course, Sean, thanks again for jumping in. Certainly, a one-way conversation isn't the most fun thing to have when you're talking about a game. It's nice to have two opinions on it. I would like to ask all our followers to, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and we've also set up an Instagram page recently. If you'll find us if you type in @Talk LFC Podcast. And also if you're looking for gifts or something for yourself even, check out our Redbubble shop. If you just do a search for Talk LFC Podcast, and I'll put the link in the chat. Quite a lot of products added recently, some nice t-shirts and all our own custom graphics, I might add.
Original designs here at Talk LFC Podcast.
Absolutely.
None of this bullshitting or copyright issues here. Most definitely, John. I must say, the Redbubble shop is coming along very, very nicely. There's some fantastic products there, and if anyone wants to buy me something, because I'm actually celebrating my birthday on Friday. So if anyone wants to buy me something off Talk LFC's podcast Redbubble account, you can certainly, I can certainly forward on my address to you.
That's this Friday coming, the 6th, is it? The 6th of January.
The 6th of January, yeah. Yeah, so
21 again.
I fucking wish. I remember me 20. The only thing is, and this will tell you, I watched my 21st birthday party there a couple of years back, and it was on videotape. So
yeah,
that goes to show. And the worst haircut and the most embarrassing video I've ever watched in my life. But
so nothing really has changed there in that regard, is it?
Absolutely not. Which would mean I need to get a bloody haircut. I think I have a few haircuts left in me, but it's getting bad now, I'll tell you. But if anyone wants to purchase anything on the Redbubble shop, you'll see some fantastic designs there. If you want to maybe even get on to Talk LFC podcast and even request any particular designs that you'd like to have on a t-shirt or even on a mug.
Yes, exactly.
Certainly contact ourselves, and I'm sure John, whenever he has a spare moment, will certainly do that for you. But there's some fantastic stuff.
Currently working on a Bill Shankly one, so I'm hoping to have that up in the next 2 days or so. But anyways, I suppose we better call it a night at this stage. I want to thank Sean for coming on again and having the chat. As I said, it's nice to have somebody to bounce stuff off. I suppose, as I said already, if you give us a follow on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on our Instagram @Talk LFC Podcast, we'd be delighted. We did breach the 3,000 mark there last week, and we're well on our way to 4,000 followers on Facebook. If you are on Twitter, we're severely lacking in followers on Twitter at the moment. If you could see your way to following us on Twitter as well, so you can get updates from everywhere. So that's pretty much it. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Sean, I'm sure.
Goodbye is right, yeah.
And thanks everybody for listening. You'll never walk alone.
Thank you for listening to Talk LFC Podcast. Be sure to follow us at facebook.com/Talk LFC Podcast and on Twitter at twitter.com/Talk LFC Podcast. Get in touch with us by email at talklfcpodcast@gmail.com or via our website at www.talklfcpodcast.com.